from all perspectives.
To stay up to date on the latest stories,
Make sure that you subscribe to the GB News channel.
right here on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across the whole world.
You can also check out exclusive content and catch up on previous episodes of your favourite shows.
Every day, we ask the questions
That you'd ask, so why not add your voice to the conversation in the comments section?
Don't forget to subscribe. We are GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every night at 11 on GB News, we bring you the next day's stories the day before. Basically like time travel.
If it's a big story, we'll cover it, guaranteed. But we'll also have some fun along the way.
Big opinions, big laughs. Sometimes big hair.
This is
Headliners, the paper review show that won't send you to sleep like the others will.
11 p.m, 7 nights a week. Join us.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for...
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Good evening, I'm Simon Evans. Welcome to Headliners. Very shortly, my guests and I will be going through Thursday's newspapers. But first, here's Polly with the news.
The top story, a damning report has found catastrophic errors at the Shrewsbury and Telford Hospital, saying 201 babies and 9 mothers could have survived if they'd received better care. The independent inquiry investigated 1,500 clinical instances and revealed repeated failures over a 20-year period. A number of babies suffered skull fractures and were left brain damaged, and several mothers were refused caesarean sections. The Health Secretary has apologised and said the failures have no place in the NHS. Sonia Lee, whose baby daughter died in 2000 shortly after her birth, says she's waited too long for an apology.
All I ever wanted was somebody to say, I am sorry, I made the mistake. And I will retrain and I will learn from my mistakes, and I never want this to happen again.
Sonia Lee. Well, in other news, the Justice Secretary Dominic Raab says he'll appeal a parole board decision to release the mother of baby P from prison. Tracy Connolly was jailed in 2009 for causing or allowing the death of her 17-month-old son Peter at her home in London. He'd suffered more than 50 injuries despite being on the at-risk register. The parole board cited Connolly's progress while in custody and time on licence as reasons for their decision. The Ukrainian president has said peace talks with Russia are continuing, but for now, he says, they're just words and there's nothing concrete. Russia's defence ministry says its forces were regrouping near Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, and the southern city of Chernihiv in order to focus on occupied territories in the east. But sources say Russian attacks in both locations continued today. The White House says Russia's military isn't telling President Putin the truth.
We believe that Putin is being misinformed by his advisors about how badly the Russian military is performing and how the Russian economy is being crippled by sanctions because his senior advisors are too afraid to tell him the truth.
Kate Bedingfield. Well, here, the head of Britain's GCHQ spy agency has said it's increasingly clear that Vladimir Putin has massively misjudged the situation in Ukraine. Sir Jeremy Fleming will make a rare speech in Australia tomorrow and is expected to say he's seen Russian soldiers short of weapons, refusing to carry out orders and sabotaging their own equipment, even accidentally shooting down their own aircraft. Well, the Foreign Secretary is to urge India to join allies in opposing Russia's aggression in Ukraine. Liz Truss will be in New Delhi on Thursday for talks with counterparts amid concerns the Indian Prime Minister is rather reluctant to publicly condemn the actions of Russia, a long-standing ally of his country. Liz Truss will also use the trip to confirm a £70 million investment to support the development of renewable energy in India. Here, British ports will be given legal powers to refuse entry to ferry operators that don't pay the minimum wage. The Transport Secretary has laid out a package of measures in response to P&O Ferries' decision to sack 800 staff, replacing them with agency workers on cheaper salaries. Grant Shapps says his request will be enforced until it's legislated. On TV, online and on your radio via DAB+, you're with GB News. Now it's time for Headliners.
Hello and welcome back to Headliners. I'm Simon Evans. Every now and then the universe throws up a comedy pairing to excite the gods themselves. That pairing was Chris Rock and Will Smith a few days ago. Tonight we have to make do with Sajila Kershi and Dana Alexander. I have to emphasise, I didn't write that, OK? That wasn't my link, that wasn't my intro. I fought bitterly against it, but sometimes you have to let these things go.
I'm sure you did.
It's our first time together, Dana. Welcome.
Thank you.
You've done the show with Dominic before, perhaps.
I have, yeah.
Yes. And possibly even the weekend shift as well. I don't know.
It was not the weekend shift.
You haven't done that yet? No, OK.
That's work time.
And Sajila, you're an old hat at this.
I'm an old hat, but yeah, two of us here together. I'm really excited.
And you've both dressed in semi-formal kind of black and white gear as well. There's a little bit of an Oscars vibe going on.
Well, I got my bit of red there.
You have. We like to see a little bit of scarlet on Sajila. It brings out her tigress. So let's take a look at tomorrow's front pages. We have got... as usual, a couple of stories dominating. The Daily Mail, natural birth dogma left mothers and babies to die. So they are in no doubt about what is to blame in this terrible scandal which has emerged from Shrewsbury and Telford area. I think the next paper is the Daily Telegraph. They are saying Putin's aides are lying to him. According to GCHQ chief, we will be covering that story in a minute. And there is Bruce Willis, of course, who has very sadly had to announce the end to his acting career as he is suffering from aphasia, no longer able to make sense of the word in verbal form. NHS maternity scandal. Police investigate 600 further cases. That's the Guardian's take on the NHS story. The FT have Germany and Austria prepare gas rationing in a standoff with Russia. That is going to hurt. Childbirth is not safe for women in England. That is a stark warning from the Times. And Putin faces revolt over blunders in Ukraine. The Daily Express has justice coming for every baby, and also the Bruce Willis story there. Rape ordeal of trans MP is the Metro, and we will be covering that as well. They also have the bad news for Putin and the tragedy of the Wanted's Tom. A band called The Wanted have lost their lead singer, dies just 33 years of age from brain cancer. He fought until the end, say his very sad family. Those are the stories. We will be diving into them very shortly. So we start off with a cautionary tale of trusting your advisors. This is from Thursday's Telegraph, Dana, and GCHQ suspect Putin is being given a bum steer by the sound of it.
Yeah, well, I guess he's being lied to by his advisors, as you said, and his government communication headquarters. So they're basically afraid to tell him the truth, and who wouldn't be?
Yeah, that is the problem with being a dictator. It's been a well-established paradox, isn't it? The more powerful you get, the more vulnerable you are because people just become afraid.
Well, everyone's afraid. I mean, the man rides a horse shirtless at his age. No one bothered to tell him.
Held at the same time. Scott Capurro was certainly torn on that one. What do you think, though? Does this ring true, or does this? There is a word that's used online, cope. You know, when you're just trying to kind of make excuses or kind of undermine or belittle your opponents. It is conceivable, isn't it, that GCHQ might be playing their own psyops game here as well, might try to convince him that he's not getting the true story in order that he doesn't trust his own advisors. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, there's been lots of porcupines going on, and I think that's quite normal in a sense.
I thought you said porcupines for a minute there, but porcupines. Cockney rhyming slang. Don't hear that very often.
As in lies.
Cockney rhyming slang, I am familiar. Yes.
You're
supposed to just say porkies, otherwise the civilians get it. If you say the whole word, never mind.
The thing is, I think he's in denial anyway about how well or not well he's doing.
Yeah.
And he doesn't seem to trust anyone around him. So I guess he's already sacked eight of his generals.
Wow.
And I think we did a story like a week ago where a lot of his generals had also died on the front line.
In a massive purge.
Yeah,
in the 30s?
And I'm thinking.
Oh no, that was the other one, wasn't it?
It's like, oh, okay. So do you think this might be? They'd rather go and fight, because I was thinking it was really odd that you send your top soldiers out to fight.
Yeah.
Maybe they wanted to fight to get away from him, or maybe they accidentally got killed by their own. I don't know. I'm just surmising.
Things have not panned out quite the way Putin hoped.
No,
clearly
it
a month
hasn't.
ago.
And no one's been too scared to be honest with him.
I just don't understand how he could expect that it would work out. What is the percentage of conscripts that are fighting this war that are under the age of 25? I mean, you can't trust.
Do you think that's what it is?
I do think that
a lack of morale.
I think it's a lack of not necessarily morale. I think they've been misled, but I think it's more a lack of experience. These are young men who don't have a lot of military experience.
I think that's definitely a factor. They've also had to admit that their machinery isn't quite up to date. That's been an issue. But there was a chap, can't remember his name, Phillips O'Brien, who wrote a book about how the Second World War was won. He says it's all too easy to get focused on heroics, on brilliantly devised battle strategies and individual generals and people who storm machine gun nests. It's actually about supply lines. It's all about creating a network and a structure. It's all creating an infrastructure, essentially. Just like a decent country needs roads and rail, an army needs that as well, and they just haven't managed to come up with it. Anyway, Thursday's Times leads with grim news from Shrewsbury. So this is a really horrific story. I seem to remember this first sort of rearing up several years ago, and obviously it went then into an official report, which has now emerged, and the news isn't good.
No, so it's in the Daily Mail. Ex-Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt says that maternity scandal, basically there's police are probing into a mother-blaming hospital trust at the centre of the biggest ever maternity scandal to strike the NHS. They're investigating up to 600 cases. And it's a really damning 5-year inquiry that's been published today. And it's revealed how 201 babies and 9 mothers died needlessly over a 2-decade spell. And appalling care from Shrewsbury and Telford Hospital NHS Trust. Now, the thing is, it's 2 decades. So my son was in his 22 decades. Around 2 decades old. And I remember when I was, having, because obviously there was a lot of pressure to have natural births.
I remember
and I had that same pressure. My baby was in distress because I was, come on, you can push. And I was really scared of losing him. And I remember they said, you've got to get him out. And they pushed me down, crunched me in half, where I crunched my back and my hip. And I've still paid the price for that kind of delivery. Wow. I always had a natural childbirth, no pain relief, because that was also part of the, let's tick the boxes. And I had problems breastfeeding, and that was also part of the thing, you were made to feel a failure if you didn't breastfeed properly.
I remember this.
The aftermath of that is, obviously, I got really overprotective over my son. He's an adult now, and still am, because I was so scared that I nearly lost him. And similarly, your body doesn't recover well. These women have lost their babies needlessly, then blamed for losing those babies. Somehow it's their fault. So the gaslighting and victim shaming.
Well, there always has to be a fall guy, doesn't it? Because if they take the fall, that's admitting liability. They're going to be liable, right? And I think they've paid, was it 58 million already out? And it makes you wonder if they would spend more money on the cases than actually investing in the staffing, the training. You wonder which way they're actually going to end up paying more money.
There's definitely been a suspicion that there was the National Childbirth Trust, who were an organisation who were pro-natural birth. We went along to 6 evenings. This was in 2002, 2003. And there were various other mothers and husbands there, you know, attending, and there was a slightly kind of weird cult-like sense around it. Anyway, a couple of them maintained that approach throughout. I remember we went into hospital within about 2 or 3 hours of my wife going into labour. She was screaming for an epidural, using quite strong language, you know. And she got one, and everything calmed down, you know, and the birth was okay, thankfully. But even then, yes, there was a ventouse, there was the hideous Smurf-like head, you know.
That was the thing, wasn't it? They called it the Smurf. It was like you get the little shaped aubergine-shaped head. But I didn't get ventouse, thank God. But
it can be brutal, and I think people should certainly be given the option of natural birth if that's what they want. But as soon as you start to get into any kind of sense that people are under pressure, then
you all know from your wife when she was pregnant, the most vulnerable time of your life, and you should get the care that you're expecting to get that moment.
What's more worrying is the death toll, and that there have been no charges and no arrests.
Well, they close in, don't they? Like all institutions, like South Yorkshire Police, like probably large media organisations and all the rest of the organisations, they just kind of close it around themselves. The first of a clutch of stories this evening on which are concerned with an issue which seems to have rocketed into the national conversation with extraordinary rapidity over the last few months. Dana, this is Tory MP grabbing another first.
Yes, Tory MP becomes the first to announce that they are trans, saying, "I have never lived my truth." I think the question is, what I find very interesting is that Dr. Willis doesn't even claim he or she, her pronouns.
Yeah, he's still with he, isn't he?
Is he living her truth? He's still not even accepting.
A lot of people are saying they, because people are confused about the difference between trans and non-binary as well. I mean, I think people are generally confused now, and possibly.
I think we've all been confused by someone's gender at some point and just said they out of being polite. Really.
This chap, though, I think we have to address it. He has a history of some quite dubious activities, leaving the scene of an accident under the possible cloud of the suspicion that he was, you know...
See, when he was leaving the scene, my question was, what was he wearing?
Well, if it was that, I think then we can all relax. But the suspicion is that he was, you know, that he was over some sort of legal limit. Yeah, and then also he had some kind of weird online sugar daddy business or something. He was, like, pimping out girls to wealthy businessmen. He's done some strange stuff. But, on the other hand, if throughout that whole period of time he's been struggling with this gender identity issue, and he claims, this is apparently his, you know, the police have helped him with this, that he has gone on a date and refused to have sex because the other man wouldn't wear a condom, and whereupon the other man then raped him. This is all in his kind of explicit letter of confession, of saying this has been, you know, the hell I've been living through. It's very hard to pick all the bones out of this, because on the one hand you're kind of thinking this is a litany of emotional, you know, disaster you've been on, and not apportioning blame for it. But on the other hand, you're an elective representative of the, you know, of a constituency who expect somebody who's reasonably emotionally, you know, stable and mature to be able to deal with their problems, let alone this, you know, this kind of...
Well, my thing, what I find very interesting as well, is that he said he was struggling with this his whole life. I'm like, if you want to see struggle, present as female, and then see how hard your life becomes after living your life as a privileged white man. It's true, though. It's like I've known.
If Will and Chris had done a little slap like that would have been okay, wouldn't it?
It was almost harder.
I was telling her to give me a little a fake slap, you know. A fake slap. I was going, could do it in the beginning.
Create a bit of headlines. It won't work a second time.
No.
This has been the story of my life. This next one is from the Metro, something to satisfy those who feel that bad tweets aren't coming with sufficient consequences these days to deal with a 6-week prison sentence.
OK, so as you recall, so let's just read the headline. It's Metro teenager sentenced to 6 weeks in prison for racially abusing Marcus Rashford after England's defeat in the European Championships final. Well, we all remember that match, and we all hurt when that didn't happen. And I don't know about you, Dana, but I was on social media knowing exactly
what was going to happen,
what the outcome was going to be, and then seeing Rashford's name in a hashtag, seeing and then reading it and not being surprised. But what surprises me is it's just this one teenager. So he was 18 years old at the time. He racially abused Marcus Rashford.
When you say he just, I mean, I don't know if it's acceptable lingo at the moment, but when you say he racially abused Marcus Rashford, that evokes for me a face-to-face confrontation. He sent a tweet abusing him, which Rashford may never, in fact, have even seen. That's what we don't know.
No, honestly, he would have been expecting it that night.
Yeah.
You don't know.
And so he wouldn't have looked for it.
We know what it's like. So this kid's name, and he's a kid, right?
Yeah.
Justin Price, 19, from Worcester. He pleaded guilty to, after firstly denying it. And the tweet, I won't read it out because I think there's no need to really do that. Do you want to read it out?
I'll tell you this. I do have one qualm about people not using the full word, especially now when we're catching everybody on the camera. It's like all you hear is beep, and then the next one is boom, 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 boom.
Keep your out of my...
But, I mean, he had the weakest excuse. He's like, I only work 2 days and I live with a single mother. You're 18. You're an adult man.
So you are, broadly, I'm getting the vibe, you're happy with a 6-week prison sentence for a bad tweet?
I think a 6-week... Well, OK, this is where I was struggling. I was a bit annoyed that you said about the single mother thing. I'm a single mother, and my son certainly... And just what message are we giving out? Unless you are gainfully employed, you know, you might catch racism.
I mean,
exactly.
I feel like he's either been given bad advice by his lawyers. I doubt very much he kind of came up with his own sort of plea bargaining.
It's right. But then he does say his mother. Once he spoke to his mother, that's when he changed. And so obviously, Mum said, right, which I would have said, like, go and own up to what he did.
He's
However, there's the other side.
He's got a 6-week sentence, so I don't think that's...
Well, they made an example of him, didn't they? Because that pylon was wild.
Because all the other ones came from Russian tweet bots, didn't they?
They suspected that, didn't they?
They may well have done, but he is only 18 at the time. So this is where I'm going to slightly, maybe not, expected, but I might defend him because I just think he made a mistake. I don't know.
Is this Rashford or the tweet?
Sorry?
Is this Rashford you're talking about?
No.
Okay.
This is the kid who made
not as bad a mistake as Rashford, but serious. No,
well,
no, I'm kidding.
Rashford, he when he was doing well, everybody supports him, and you can't just turn on someone just because they miss a goal, which we all could have done.
The thing is, though, you can actually in football. That's exactly what happens in football. They get paid millions, and when they miss a penalty in a crucial match, you turn on them. That's always what's happening. It's not a colour issue.
Yeah,
really.
the three of the guys
in this instance, the colour was used.
He
was weaponized.
Yeah, but
right?
he would have said short, tall, fat, whatever.
No, but it does make a difference because men have come. Do you remember years ago? Who's the other?
I'm not saying it's equally acceptable. I'm just saying I don't think he hated him because he was black. I think he hated him because he missed the penalty. I think if he'd scored the penalty,
we don't know. I mean, we can't. I mean, for me, this kid, in my opinion, showed very little contrition. Do you know what I mean? I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry.
But are you okay? You are okay with a prison sentence for a single bad tweet? Then you are basically okay with that.
For a single bad tweet. I think we have to consider that this is hate speech, and we have to look at what hate speech can and does incite.
It's
and
interesting.
6 weeks, he's not going to die.
There was that mural went up about Marcus Rashford as well under the bridge, and there was all this, it's hateful, it's rhetoric, it's racial hatred. And then when it was finally seen what it was nothing to do with that. It was some strange traveller slang. It was a slur, but in a bucket, and I won't say it, but it was like it had no racial connotation at all. No racial connotation towards Rashford. It was what you might say was an ethnic lingo from a particular ethnic subgroup who had posted it. It was a City versus United thing.
Okay, well, yeah, it was.
There is an awful lot of attempts to escalate, I think, in the media and in the culture generally, and make everything about that.
Yeah, but Simon, in this instance, it really was about race. And
it was about him missing the penalty.
No, but you don't call someone. You can't call someone.
It really demeans.
You can't call someone the N-word and then tell me it's not about race.
Yeah.
I think, and what I'm saying, it was obviously that tweet was, but the spur was about. Do you think if he had scored it, he still would have attracted hate tweets?
I think you know what it is. Maybe from the other side, perhaps. Yes, I do think. I mean, I've heard it often. I remember this one guy was sitting in a bar, him watching Tiger at the golf tour, and when he actually scored, he yelled out in the bar, that N-word, and he didn't realize that I was sitting there.
Right.
And he was full of apologies. I mean, if he didn't, if it really wasn't about that, what's he apologizing for?
Well, we got another problematic tweet now, and this time the culprit avoids the nick, but possibly because his target was actually deceased by the time he sent the tweet. This is with you, Dana, I think.
Yeah, so Captain Sir Tom Moore, who I'm sure many of you are familiar with because he raised a bunch of money for the NHS by doing laps in his garden and sadly, of course, died of COVID, the very cause that he was raising money for. So a man said that Captain Sir Tom Moore should burn the day after the 100-year-old fundraiser here had died and has avoided a jail sentence.
He actually, if I remember, if it's the same guy, he was the one who said something along the lines of "the only good Tommy is a dead Tommy." It's an old Republican slur against the British Armed Forces, because I think the guy has some nationalist Irish affiliations. Yeah, that meant just to contextualise it. So again, it is essentially a, you know.
I think he should be hung, drawn and quartered just for his appalling grammar and spelling, because didn't he just write the only good Brit soldier is a deed one, and burn old fellow burn.
Old is actually the correct
You're
old
going to get
spelling.
some hate tweets yourself now, Sabila, for that.
Well, how about this?
Mocking his accent.
How about this? If
well,
somebody...
I'm sorry, but he did. I mean, what did he get?
What if someone said that about a Russian soldier? No one would bat an eye.
I think Facebook have legitimately, they've explicitly legitimised that, haven't they? That you're allowed to, hate speech rules have been lifted for the course of this war, so that you can be as mean as you like. Well, I feel glad that there are fewer people going to jail for tweets than there maybe were a couple of weeks ago. Coming up after the break, we will be discussing a YouTuber who's been thrown in the slammer, job losses on a massive scale, and an MP's immigration fail. That's begging the question, but we'll come to the story soon. Stay tuned. See you shortly.
GB News is the UK's home of discussion and debate
from all perspectives.
To stay up to date on the latest stories,
make sure that you subscribe to the GB News channel
right here on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across the whole world.
You can also check out exclusive content and catch up on previous episodes of your favourite shows.
Every day, we ask the questions
that you'd ask, so why not add your voice to the conversation in the comments section?
Don't forget to subscribe. We are GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every night at 11 on GB News, we bring you the next day's stories the day before.
Basically like time travel.
If it's a big story, we'll cover it, guaranteed. But we'll also have some fun along the way.
Big opinions, big laughs. Sometimes big hair.
This is
Headliners, the paper review show that won't send you to sleep like the others will.
11 p.m, 7 nights a week. Join us.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
And welcome back to Headliners with Sajila Kershi and Dana Alexander. And of course, me, Simon Evans. Thursday's Independent kicks off the second section. Sajila, it looks like we've got our very own little Donald Trump on our hands with a hierarchy of immigrant sources.
Yes, so Tory MP praises rich Qataris as right type of immigrant, not refugees in rubber boats. Now, I read that as rubber boots, and I was going, I've never heard that
rubber
phrase.
boots.
And I was thinking, oh, is that fetishizing immigration? But anyway, so he thinks the only people that turn up in rubber boats are getting the visas.
Yeah.
And he took a trip. So there might be, you might understand why he might be interested in getting his Qatari friends, getting these easy access visas. It's because he recently took a trip, £2,740 trip funded by the Qataris to go over there. One has to ask the question, and I am just posing the question, that perhaps he got some sort of gift to encourage him to bring this to the PM.
Well, it sounds like he's a paid lobbyist. There doesn't seem to be any other way of reading it.
Well, I don't know how far we're supposed to say with Ofcom and everything, but allegedly and all those other words.
I always feel with these things, do you not get that sense that it's almost as if the secret agenda is to actually discredit that idea? I mean, it couldn't be phrased more clumsily and less likely to actually have the desired rich. Why can't we get more rich Qataris? The very country that we all currently are aware is so problematic.
Yes.
It's hosting the World Cup, has killed God knows how many people have died on building sites.
Exactly. The very people that they're afraid of are probably the people that built Qatar.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, are they going to come here and fill in all the job losses that we have? Do you think they're going to get to work for, what is it,
well, they'll just replace the Russian non-doms who have been locked up and whose assets have been frozen. Qatar will come in and buy their mansions now, I guess. That's the idea, is it?
Yeah.
I mean, they are phenomenally wealthy. They are. They
would definitely add money to our economy, but I mean, we have to think about...
I don't know. Does it add it to it, or does it... I don't know in what sense it stimulates it. I mean, certain kinds of shops and bars and restaurants do well, but...
Well, I remember the Saudis used to come back in the late 90s or early 90s, and they did bring the economy because they used to shop. I've seen them just going to Harvey Nichols and Harrods, 20 of those and 20 of those.
And indeed buy Harrods.
And you end up buying Harrods. But it does. Do you have to pay a price for this at some point, though? So it's not like...
it's a weird... I mean, I don't want to be totally facetious about it, but there is definitely an argument that actually you do want the people who have shown the wherewithal to get across the channel on a dinghy.
That's exactly what I was saying.
These are the people who have a bit of, resilience, and which is not to say that I do actually want them to do that, because, sooner or later they will die.
And we pretend that a lot of menial labor isn't the backbone of our economy and society. Yeah. Somebody has to build the roads, somebody has to clean the roads, somebody has to serve food.
If you can get across the channel on a dinghy, maybe you can sail the P&O ferry in the other direction.
Exactly.
Thursday's Telegraph, job losses from Swedish flat pack giant IKEA. This sounds quite serious if you live in Tottenham anyway.
I live quite near to Tottenham, actually. That would be my IKEA. And yes, just like many other jobs in the UK, they are at risk because operating costs are high. So, I mean, it's not a surprise. I'm sure we all came out of lockdown and we started gigging again. And how many different retailers went down? I mean, there's not even a Debenhams.
A lot of the big, bricks and mortar, as they call them, although I don't think IKEA are bricks and mortar, are they sort of corrugated iron usually, but bricks and mortar retailers are in trouble. Having said that, IKEA are opening branches in other parts of London. I think it's partly a demographic shift and maybe where they're finding there's new business, But they have opened one, I think, in Hammersmith or something quite recently.
And then one in Oxford Street, where the old
have they?
Topshop is.
Oh, really? You think they'd be paying more money in Oxford Street than they would be in Tottenham.
I just hope they haven't got it like a maze. Please redesign it without the maze because you feel trapped. And then you've got no choice because you're so weak from walking around. You have to go to the cafe and eat those meatballs. That's the way IKEA works.
You need some meatballs. Sheila, a somewhat bewildering story for those of us who have old-fashioned notions of what jail time is supposed to look like.
Okay, so YouTube refuses to remove account of prisoner who films videos in his cell. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought the whole idea, we've seen Shawshank Redemption, we've seen all these prison things.
Yeah.
Where are you're not allowed phones.
You're
have to
lucky
hide
if you
it
get
in an
a
orifice.
made out of an old toothbrush.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to hide it somewhere in your
person. In a brick in the wall. It's in a brick in the wall. You hide it in a public area in a brick in a wall.
He has literally got his smartphone.
Orange is the new black. And I used to have a prison pen pal.
Oh, wow.
Too, actually.
Did you date him in the end?
Are you crazy? I made sure he was did the worst thing and was never coming out of jail, was from another country.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Like through Amnesty or something, was it?
Come again?
Was it through Amnesty or something?
No. It was just through there's a prison pen pal. I'm very interested in how...
he was a proper criminal. He wasn't right,
big time. He was going to die in there.
So our man here, Sam Walker, he's currently serving at Forest Bank Prison in Salford, and he's been making videos of himself inside, almost like a docu video for YouTube and posting them. And in one video, the guard said, look, move on, mate, move on. And Walker replies, hold on a sec, mate, hold on a sec, I'm talking. And then goes accused judges, I'm accusing the judges of being all paedophiles who give drug dealers a really long sentence over rapists. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's all going on YouTube. So it's almost like a...
I actually had a look at some.
Yeah, have you seen it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I bet she's pretty
and
good.
He's got a huge following on and he gets a
why
monetary, like he gets £1,700 he's making from this. More than us, guys.
I just think too, like, if they want to take the phone off him, do your job and take the phone off him. It's not YouTube's job to do this.
Yeah,
and if the guards are allowing this so openly, he's either paying those guards or he has something on him.
Again, you have to assume it's exactly the opposite of what it appears to be on the surface level. There's something else going on.
And they're not
but I
upset
would
about
say
the phone.
his cell doesn't even look like a cell. He looked like he was in a student accommodation, mid-range student accommodation.
Like a Norwegian prison.
Yeah. Dana, next one is from the Staines Massive. I like this story. The football team have come out fighting.
This was a bit wild. So
Thursday's Guardian, I should say. Sorry.
So Stainstown accuses the landlord of breaching the Modern Slavery Act. I mean, there's so many different types.
There's a whole
slavery.
list of things he's accused of.
Oh,
right?
it was murder?
Murder.
Where's the body? What was it? Environmental crimes, price fixing, deforestation, forced evictions with someone living there, human rights abuses, child labor. Oh, come on now. Slavery and gender discrimination and murder.
I love the way gender discrimination is tucked in between slavery and murder. It's like those are the big three now, right? And this is basically the local authority have said this guy has run his football team into the ground.
Yeah.
He's mishandled its finances, mishandled the administration generally, and is desperately trying to throw shade over them.
Yeah. I mean, come on, guy. Tell us something we could believe.
I like him. He sounds like a bit of a character. I remember when football was full of characters.
Oh, gosh. I saw him harpoon a whale. Come on.
OK, coming up in the final third, we have aliens supposedly being found on Earth. We have Amy Schumer, who's also made her way into the headlines, and much more besides, including my favourite poem, if we get time for it. See you shortly.
GB News is the UK's home of discussion and debate
from all perspectives.
To stay up to date on the latest stories,
make sure that you subscribe to the GB News channel.
Right here on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across the whole world.
You can also check out exclusive content and catch up on previous episodes of your favourite shows.
Every day, we ask the questions
that you'd ask, so why not add your voice to the conversation in the comments section?
Don't forget to subscribe. We are GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every night at 11 on GB News, we bring you the next day's stories the day before.
It's basically like time travel.
If it's a big story, we'll cover it, guaranteed. But we'll also have some fun along the way.
Big opinions, big laughs. Sometimes big hair.
This is
Headliners, the paper review show that won't send you to sleep like the others will.
11 p.m, 7 nights a week. Join us.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners with me, Simon Evans. I'm joined by Sajila Kershi and Dana Alexander. The Guardian next, and the United Nations desperately trying to stop everyone having babies, but they're up against rumour and superstition, it seems, Dana.
I guess so. So fertility myths are putting millions off of contraception, the UN report is warning. So more than half of pregnancies worldwide are unintended, with the stigma of misinformation to be leading factors in lack of family planning. So Basically, what they're telling us is half of this planet is a mistake. Well, the sad thing about that half is 60% of them end up being terminated abortions, right? So 20% effectively of our
But this is
planet.
extraordinary. Are they saying literally half half of conceptions are unintentional?
Yeah, that's what they're saying. Listen, I saw a woman on the train with 4 kids. She stood up and she was pregnant. The first thing she said, it was not planned. But I've heard things in, like, my family's Jamaican, and I've heard things like birth control will kill off black people. So there's like...
Well, this is, I mean, getting to the point, seriously, there are suspicions, aren't there, not just about birth control, like in general, but that it's a plot against specific people. There is rumours that they think that they're trying to...
They have, actually. Was it not in Australia that they used to sterilise Aboriginal women?
There's been a history of sterilisation.
So there has been a history of that. What I thought was very interesting, for many women, it stressed taking contraception was complicated, with nearly a quarter, that's 23%, unable to say no to sex.
Well,
I guess I've been there, but come on now.
Yeah, no, come on. That's like my teacher used to say, the best contraception of all, girls, is to say no.
Wash your legs.
Think, exactly. But the thing is, this is actually perhaps religious-based as well, because obviously a lot of, Catholics, Muslims, Jewish people won't take contraception because they see it as like a, stopping a baby.
Religion and cultural and all
It could be cultural. That is
a
a very good point, because in many cultures, there's no such thing as being able to rape your wife.
But I know there is definitely, I mean, statistically, as we look around the world now, it wasn't very long ago. For instance, America was genuinely alarmed that birth rates were 3 or 4 times higher in Central America than they were in America. And so people would come storming across the border because, it was unbalanced. That's gone. That changed very, in a single generation now. People in Guatemala and, Cuba or whatever are having... Fertility rates are not very, very different from mainland America. The one exception is still Africa, and sub-Saharan Africa in particular. And I suspect that African men don't want to be, or to be exposed to the same... I think they think of themselves as patriarchs.
Or the condoms are too
You've got to
small.
have a big family to be a big man,
That's right. I think the condom's too small. Absolutely.
But it's a big part of being a man there, right? To have a big family, to decide, I don't know.
I think it's deeper than that. There was this Swedish statistician that talked about this in a book called Factfulness, and there's basically when people have more access to food and education, they stop having babies, because in many cultures, people have babies with the understanding that these kids are basically going to take them through their retirement, right? So it's a survival.
That's why I had my son. My pension plan.
And now, how's that working out?
He's become an actor, so
takes a while to kick in, doesn't it? That's my experience. Thursday's Times, Sajila, this sounds like a fantastic combo from Dyson.
Wow.
Best thing since the hand-dry urinal combo they have in the lavatory.
Oh, my God. So, I can't tell you, I love Dyson. I love Dyson so much. If you're listening, Dyson, please give me things. So Dyson tackles pollution with air-purifying headphones. Now, there was a time when I thought that you had made it. When I bought my Dyson Hoover, I thought, I've arrived. Daniel, I have arrived.
But nobody would see it because it was in your house. Now you can wear Dyson
because they come round.
on the
I have them around for dinner. I have friends, Simon.
You get it out in Hoover.
Yeah,
not Hoover.
No, I just leave it in an obvious place. Like there's my Dyson Hoover. And then I really thought I was a goddess when I got my Dyson hairdryer. It's like 400 quid on easy payments on QVC.
That's like, those AirPods are expensive enough. How much is this going to cost?
My daughter is 18 in a couple of weeks. That's what she's requested.
Did you tell her no?
Between 500
we do have some
and
footage
1K.
of this, I believe, to see the air pollution. There we are.
So let me tell you the magic thing about this. That thing at the front. So for 2 years, when we've been in lockdown, I've had to live with my own breath under my mask.
There he is, wearing it.
And this gives you clean air. So it basically cleans the air around you. So you're on that train, look at him there. He's going to have clean air.
Totally looks like he's
wonderfully there, no germaloids. And he can listen to his music as well.
Yeah.
How amazing is this? I so want one.
He's getting robbed in the tube by my house, I'll tell you that. You wear that geeky stuff in Enfield, try again, guys.
I would rather wear that than if, I don't know,
not
cloth
masks.
masks. Or
if we all had that,
Yeah,
the government gave us one of those, I think we'd still like to stay
But they
longer.
are noise-cancelling headphones. The question is, do they have to be noise-cancelling to cut out the sound of your own internal fans, like purification
that's
system?
true.
That's the suspicion. Are you a fan of the Dyson brand, Dana?
Do you know what? I'm lucky I don't have any carpets.
Yeah.
I'm a broom type of girl.
Yeah.
But when I think of a vacuum, we're from the new world. You know what I mean? A vacuum wasn't. You just had to have a vacuum. That was the end of the story. So it just kind of reminds me of chores as a child. What I think is more interesting is that headphones are doing the jobs around pollution that the government can't.
Yeah.
That's
So
the
thank you,
surprising
Dyson.
part.
Well, working it all together, do you remember Google Glass? That was maybe 10 years ago now. Do you remember it? It was like a pair of glasses like this, but it had a heads-up display, augmented reality, essentially.
Gosh.
So you would constantly have the time here, and if you said, Google, what is that up ahead? And it would have it would switch to kind of Google Street View so that you could... overlay
that's
whatever.
a lot.
It was extraordinary, but people
Black
became very
Mirror.
anxious that it was intrusive because, for instance, if somebody was coming towards you, you might go, Google, who's that bloke walking towards me? Am I supposed to recognise him? It seems to be smiling. But there's, it had all kinds of slightly iffy, creepy... And anyway, it didn't test well, and they pulled it. But this is what we now need. We need the Google Glass, the Dyson headphones, and we basically just need to disappear into a helmet.
It's a bit of a reach. You can't even get people to put on a cloth mask. They're not putting that on.
I'm sorry, guys. I told you I love Dyson, and you're stopping me from pitching to Dyson. They should let me try this product. Please, I must have it.
If you want to send along a set of headphones, what's his name? I want to say Frank. It's not Frank, is it? James. Who's Frank Dyson? Oh, yeah, James Dyson, right?
Yeah, Dyson.
Yeah.
Mr. Dyson to me.
If you want
Hello,
it,
Mr. Dyson.
he lives overseas.
I'm loving
now,
your
on a
work,
farm.
Mr. Dyson.
She loves to vacuum.
Thursday's
Look at this.
Guardian, Dana. Man punches man, women hit hardest.
Oh, yes. Amy Schumer was triggered and traumatized by Will Smith's Oscar slap incident. Leave it to Amy Schumer to put the spotlight on herself.
Yeah.
How is she more triggered than the man who got slapped? He didn't even take his hands from behind his back. He didn't
Can we
press
just
charge.
pause for a moment to acknowledge the extraordinary composure of Chris Rock?
Yes.
It was amazing.
That was
Yeah.
as
Either that or
stand-ups,
Will
we
Smith-
all know I would have burst into tears at that point. I mean, it was horrible.
Well, it was more like it was an open-handed slap.
Yeah.
Now that's disrespectful
It's
to a man.
humiliating. It hurts,
Yes.
and you feel you've been kind of emasculated at the same time, like treated like a child almost.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I don't know, though. I'm not feeling bad for these guys because I don't know if you know
Rock
this.
is going to sell out now, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah,
do you know
he's
what?
selling.
The lowest price tickets for Chris Rock have increased up to 800%. Yes, so tickets are ranging now from £145 to $300. They're winning. They're both laughing. They're grown
And
men.
it makes me think that maybe it was set up because that slap was a proper, like it was a nana slap. You know, my nan would have just gone done that. Like,
and everybody who's so outraged by a man's who hasn't been in a fight?
Yeah, well, I haven't.
Never in your life. You've never been in a physical fight.
My favourite conspiracy theory about the whole thing, apparently the Oscar ceremony itself is sponsored by Pfizer. Have you heard this? And Pfizer have a new cure coming out for alopecia, the very
that's a proper
disability
conspiracy.
stroke condition stroke cosmetic embarrassment which Jaden Smith was suffering from.
She wasn't that embarrassed. She didn't put on a wig.
Well,
She
I was
couldn't
going
have
to
been that
say, now
embarrassed.
this is something, maybe you can speak to this, because I don't want to get out of my lane totally here, but it's not unknown within black culture, right, for a woman to wear a wig, even if she doesn't have any issues, just because she might want to be able to sleep with a kind of, like a naked
If you
head,
saw
you know what I mean?
my hair, gosh, people ask me how long my natural hair is. It's about this tall.
Right.
And when you look at the amount of time you actually have to take to do your hair, my dad used to do my mom's hair back in the 80s for like an hour and a half every night. You'd lose years off your life.
So much better. Wigs, I would love. If there's any, I don't want a Dyson, I just want a convincing toupee at this point. Thursday's Times now, Sajila, and yet another trans story. This time it is the familiar issue, however. The male-bodied athlete. This is, I think, a bit of a turning point, though, actually, although it sounds horribly
there's actually
repetitive.
not. Trans cyclist Emily Bridges barred from competition by UCI. Now, Bridges was due to compete in a female race for the first time at the National Omnium Championship.
It's a variant.
And so the trans cyclist Emily Bridges, she's been barred because the global governing body have stopped her from competing against Laura Kenny in Derby this weekend. Now, the 21-year-old recently competed. Basically, what's happened is that there has been a change since the swimming incident, with Leah Thomas's controversy. the UCI has told British Cycling that Bridges is not eligible to participate in the event because they've got a series of policies now that are going to come in where they want, because at the moment you have to, if you are transitioning, you have to undergo a year of therapy, but now they're saying 36 months is probably more.
Of testosterone reduction therapy. Yeah.
But they haven't completely ruled out the possibility that somebody born male may be able to go through sufficient hormone-induced changes.
Because they've made it very clear that they want to be inclusive, but I mean, unless there's like a trans lane, it's really difficult because there's so few trans athletes to compete. It's a tricky one.
I compete, and here's another bit of branding, I compete on Peloton. And then you don't know who you're racing against.
Okay.
There's a leaderboard, and somebody might be claiming to be a 50-year-old dad, but they might actually be a 30-year-old mum, and you have no idea at all.
Catfishing you on Peloton.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just to big me up or bring me down. Dana, this is another story from the many-headed hydra that is the current gender zeitgeist. But this is perhaps the least predictable of them.
Yeah, so we have a Disney executive who's the mother of a transgender and pansexual child that says she wants at least half of all future characters to be LGBTQIA or racial minorities. So the theme
is that the current thing now? Because that's changed since last time I looked as well. That
plus, there's a plus.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Now, because you don't know what's coming next, right? So basically, it's. A Disney executive who's in charge has vowed to up the ante on gender politics during an all-hands meeting, promising that at least half the characters in its production will be LGBTQIA+ or ethnic minorities.
I watched this video. It was released, I don't know if this is the only way it was released, but it was released by a guy called Chris Rufo, who's a sort of conservative, quite a focused and effective campaigner against. He was the guy who introduced the term critical race theory into the discourse. And so he's now attacking Disney. And Florida, I think, is a little bit of a battleground, isn't it, over all of this stuff? And also DeSantis is arguably, Trump's wingman for 2024. He's the governor of Florida. It feels like this is quite an intense battleground. He's found this essentially an internal planning meeting where lots of women are saying, I've totally been gaying Disney movies for as long as I've been
Ursula, right? Then they had the little candlestick character was openly gay in the remix of Beauty and the Beast. But I think in terms of the racial diversity, we have to look at 2045. White people will be a minority in the United States, and they are currently a global minority. So it's not so far-fetched when you consider that these people are distributing these movies worldwide.
I think the racial balance totally makes sense.
Of course.
In that regard, arguably, Black and Latino, Latinx, whatever you want to say, South American and Central American people tend to be rather more conservative in their views towards having gay lead characters in children's films.
Well,
so that could be an interesting switch around as well, How do you mean tough? Tough for Disney or tough for the black people?
Tough for the people that they can watch something else then, you know what I mean?
You think that's how the market works?
VeggieTales or whatever.
Do you think that's how the market works, though? Do you think Disney will win and the public will lose, or do you think Disney will go out of business because it's trying to present people with
I think Disney knows.
Propaganda?
I think Disney knows that there are a lot of minorities. Like, look at Tyler Perry. He's doing better than Steven Spielberg, for example. Tyler Perry. So he produces a lot of black movies. But if you actually look at what he does in the box office, he does more numbers than Steven Spielberg does.
Right.
Look at the numbers for Black Panther.
Yeah.
Look at Encanto, that new Disney film that just came out.
Black Panther's not gay. Black Panther is like
a minority. But I'm saying a minority. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, but that's a different issue. We're talking about them. Disney are trying to push a lesbian and LGBTQA+.
Oh, see, I read it as racial minorities. I saw it all combined together.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
okay.
It's a combination of the two.
Well, you see, that's the thing. I think they're conflating. I mean, the alphabet people, as Chappelle calls them, that's a loose enough community as it is, without you sort of just going, everyone who isn't a straight white male is like some kind of weird coalition. I mean,
I have a joke about it. It's about people of color. All you're really saying is everybody who isn't white, you're over there. Do you know what I mean?
It's an absurd term. It's just as bad as coloured people, which nobody has said for decades, right? But it's exactly the same term.
Depends on where you hang out.
This is Thursday's Guardian now, Sajila, and this is something that's challenging to a man of my...
Right, OK, so EU wants to force fashion firms to make clothes more durable and recyclable.
I agree.
And I do agree. And the average European throws away 11 kilograms of clothes, shoes and other fabrics goods every year. Textiles are the fourth largest emitter of greenhouse gas emissions after food, housing and transport, as well as consuming vast amounts of water and raw materials. Now, back in 2020, the beginning of January, New Year's Eve, resolutions, I made a resolution to not buy one item of clothing, anything, not even underwear, nothing. And as it turned out...
For the year? For the whole year?
Yeah, for the whole year.
Yeah.
The pandemic happened, it was really easy to live in the same clothes.
Never even change an item of clothing.
It might be a little snug for some of us.
But I did. I also had a massive clear out because we all Marie Kondo to death, didn't we? And took loads of bags to charity and stuff. And now I'm being a lot more conscious about what I buy. And so, in fact, anybody out there,
probably landfill.
The clothes that we wear here, we can donate it if they can give to something.
That's true. It depends on what you buy, though, right? Because there's some ugly fashions. There's probably a landfill
There's
full
a lot of stuff
hammer
you buy
pants,
from Primark, and by the end of the weekend, you just want to get rid of it, even if it would survive a wash. But this is where I have always said, the old school conservative, it's like horseshoe again, meets the environmentalist. If you buy a tweed jacket, it will last you 30 years.
That's true.
You buy a well-made pair of brogues, you can hand those down. That's, I think, the future.
You got to buy timeless fashions is what you'll have to buy.
This is the plot driver. I do think it is slightly different for men and women. Men actually can wear clothes that they look lived in, and it's not... It's
men
fine,
get away with it a little bit more than us.
Anyway, the plot driver to one of my favourite sci-fi novels is coming up now. This is spiders able to hear through their webs, right?
Yeah, they're webs. I mean, you can see so many things through a web, even when it comes to the wind. I guess my big question, so orb-weaving spiders could effectively hear sounds by standing on vibrating spider webs. What are they listening for? Can they talk?
There's a fantastic sci-fi book called Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky, where spiders evolve because they get access to a serum that allows them to sort of develop extra brain
Or like
power.
Charlotte's Web?
Well, it's kind of like Charlotte's Web meets 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's an amazing story, and it's all about them listening to that. Spiders are deaf. Yeah, that's
Spiders
right.
are deaf, so they use their hairs on their legs because the fuzz is sensitive towards nearby sound vibrations. So as a deaf person with hairy legs, I think that's good.
So do you think you need a web? Maybe,
I need a web. I just need a web.
I think what's more interesting about it, too, is that this discovery could inform the way we design microphones, hearing aids, and cell phones.
I love it. From Thursday's Sun now. Now, this is a sad story, I'm not going to lie, as a man of a certain age. Shed a little tear for the big guy.
OK, so Bruce Willis, and I've been a huge fan of his since Moonlighting days. Bruce Willis is quitting acting after diagnosis with aphasia as he suffers cognitive issues, daughter rumour claims.
It's an unfortunate name for a daughter in a story where, it's not a rumour, it's an actual story.
Rummer. I think it's Rummer, isn't it? Rummer Godden. I think
Rumor,
Rummer Godden was a
it's rumour.
an author I used to use when I was a child. What he has is an inability to comprehend or formulate language because of brain.
It's something normally happens after a stroke, but he hasn't had a stroke. Right?
It can happen after a stroke. It can happen from tumour or just from damage to brain cells.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's horrible for creatives to get ill, get something, and unfortunately we're all getting older. I've had my own health issues,
terrifying.
and it's horrible to give up the thing that you love and adore that keeps you going.
But the nice thing is he left behind a beautiful legacy, and we get so shocked when we see people at an older age because, in my mind, Marlon Brando is still, in his 30s because of, certain films that I've seen him in, because you're kind of immortalized,
Willis aged
right?
well, actually. He aged very gracefully, Willis. He shaved the head. He never looked ridiculous like he was trying to look young, but he got more and more rugged as he got older. I hadn't watched them, but a few people were saying online today he's been making a few straight-to-video or straight-to-streaming movies lately where he is, in little 2 or 3 minute chunks where they cut it together, and they've been working with his limited capabilities, but he's just been doing the last few...
Well, he has a lot of money. Let him enjoy his life.
Oh, I hope he can.
Well, he's not dead. It's just that his career has died, and that's what we're mourning, is the loss of this great artist. And I hope he enjoys his
I hope
life.
so. I hope aphasia, which does sound frightening, but I hope it isn't utterly debilitating in terms of just enjoying lying on a lounger.
Yes.
Loveliest of trees, the cherry now is hung with bloom along the bough and stands about the woodland ride wearing white for Eastertide. Japanese going out to go and see their cherry trees.
Is that your haiku?
It's actually from Shropshire Lad by A.E. Houseman.
You've been waiting all day for that one, eh?
Poem, yes.
That's the most joyous I've ever seen, Simon.
So yes, I guess Tokyo has waited 2 years to celebrate its Cherry Blossom Festival because of COVID. I think it's so beautiful that after 2 years in the house, people just want to look at the flowers. I was just hoping that the McDonald's would open.
It's absolutely true. I mean, I am a deep admirer of the cherry tree, and my daughter was born on April 17th, just as ours sprang into bloom, so it's always a very emotional and moving time of year for us. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. See you again tomorrow. This has been GB News with Headliners. I've been Simon Evans. It's been a pleasure. See you tomorrow.
Oh, there was one story we missed out.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood, and every weekday we bring you The Briefing live from 9:30 a.m. The stories, analysis and live debate that you need to hear.
Quite right, Tom, of course.
Was this something that had been considered at all?
Difficult to answer.
Gas-guzzling helicopters circling. Noise is being made here.
Joe Biden walking out. Thank you very much for joining us. Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, Monday to Friday, 9:30 a.m. on GB News.
GB News is the UK's home of discussion and debate.
From all perspectives.
To stay up to date on the latest stories,
make sure that you subscribe to the GB News channel.
Right here on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across the whole world.
You can also check out exclusive content and catch up on previous episodes of your favourite shows.
Every day, we ask the questions
that you'd ask, so why not add your voice to the conversation in the comments section?
Don't forget to subscribe. We are GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every night at 11 on GB News, we bring you the next day's stories the day before.
Basically like time travel.
If it's a big story, we'll cover it, guaranteed. But we'll also have some fun along the way.
Big opinions, big laughs. Sometimes big hair.
This is
Headliners, the paper review show that won't send you to sleep like the others will.
11 p.m, 7 nights a week. Join us.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on